Hey everyone, welcome to the Washington, D.C. 17 Google for Education Certified Innovator Project Showcase. It's been 1 year since all of these awesome innovators, mentors, and coaches all Certified Innovator Project Showcase. Go ahead and mute if you are not muted with us today on our call, guys. And so today we're here just to gather to see where we're at a year later with all of our initial challenges you came into the Google office in Washington, D.C. with, and what you've been able to come up with to try to solve those. And of course, to have a nice mini reunion with each other and see how everyone's doing. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and say in the YouTube chat, hi. And maybe you are not an innovator and you're just watching this, or you're not part of the WDC 17 cohort and just watching this, feel free to share in the YouTube chat maybe the #1 thing that's changed for you this year. So either as innovators joining us, or if you're just watching, how have you changed in the last 12 months in your career? Maybe it's your haircut, anything you want to share, drop that in and say hello in the chat. Awesome. Hey, Susan. Hey, Megan. Hey, Tammy. Thanks for coming in the chat. Way to have some mentors in the crowd supporting their innovators today. Thanks, Jacqueline, for coming. Cool. Thanks, everyone. Keep those intros coming, and we'll keep going and get started and check in on you in the chat. In our check-in that came for our innovators, we asked what was the best movie that you saw this summer, and it looks like it's a tie between Incredibles 2 and Crazy Rich Asians and Avengers. It's a 3-way tie. So if you're looking for a good end of summer movie in the Northern Hemisphere, that might be 3 titles that you could check out. Thanks, everyone, and thanks for dropping in your project links to your sites and your calls to action. We'll go down the line and share all of those in a little bit. But before we do that, I thought we would go ahead and introduce our keynote for today, which is Cyrus Mystery, the Group Product Manager of Education Platforms and Ecosystems. It's a big role, Cyrus, and we're excited to have you here today. We asked Cyrus to join us because as you end your year as an official active innovator in your cohort, we hope you either keep working on your project that you currently have or start new ones. And Cyrus is going to chat to us a bit about how his role innovation works and how he keeps innovation going with all of the many projects in his ecosystem, as it were. So, hey, Cyrus, is your mic working?
I hope so. Can everyone hear me?
You are. Hey, how's it going? We see you. Thanks for joining us today. The innovators are all super excited. Innovators, as you're watching on the chat, please feel free to drop Cyrus any questions, and hopefully you can take a few minutes to answer them at the end.
Yes, this is your chance to ask the Google product managers questions, and of course feature requests I'm sure will come in. Hi everyone, it's really awesome to get to talk to you guys. You are the best of the best. So I've been at Google about 12 years. This October, month after next, I guess will be 12 years at Google. So I've been here a long time. I managed, my first product was the Google Search Appliance. I don't even know if anyone knows that. We used to sell an actual rack piece of hardware. And schools actually used to buy them, mostly higher ed though, used to buy them to search their intranet and get better Google quality search. And then I went on to manage Google Drive briefly. This is before it launched, then Google Calendar, Google Tasks. And then I joined the Chromebook team, and they said, what would you like to do on this team? Because it was brand new. And I said, this might do well in business and education. And I've been working with the education team for about, I think, 5.5 years, maybe 6 years. So it's been really awesome. And I have a whole team of amazing product managers that do all the real work. And they are the ones that are constantly coming up with ideas, actually very similar to a lot of they start with a lot of the vision decks that a lot of you guys, I actually went through almost all of them because they were so amazing. I thought, oh, I'll look at a few, and then they were so good
Very
that
similar.
I actually went through all of them. Is there an echo? Oh, good. So I thought it was amazing. I think what you guys are doing is really, really awesome. I hope you keep doing it. Our work starts with very similar vision deck for what we want to do, and then very similarly, we have to go out and see if we can find the resources to make this happen. Our main goal usually is to try to get it out there, you know, not having perfect be the enemy of the good, and get something out there that people can try, tell us whether it's good. We recently launched that, I don't know if you guys saw, we recently launched that feature called Secure Quizzes, so that teachers could, you know, have secure quizzes on Chromebooks within the school, so kids can't actually get out and go do other things. So that's an example of something that teachers had kept asking us. They said, oh my gosh, we would love something like this, because Google Forms is great, but who knows what they're actually doing. So that's actually exactly how it started. We're like, yeah, maybe we can come up with an idea here. I've also, I would say, feel free to reach out to Google and see if we can help you on some of these projects. If you have one that, and some of these just look super interesting and actually really good for the world in general. My wife's been in education for most of her life, still works at a school, so I know how hard it can be. I've worked with some early developers, helping them along the way. I helped two guys that were thinking of doing something with Chromebooks. They said, we think we can help teachers manage Chromebooks better. What do you think? And I said, I think you should really lean in on this and go. And so I guided them and now I think they're all multimillionaires now. You probably heard of the company called GoGuardian, but there's a variety I've worked with in the very early days. So sorry, I didn't mean to talk for so long, but I wanted to just say, keep up the amazing work. And if there's any questions for me, anything you would like to see Google do anyway, we can help you. We'd be very, very excited to do so.
Awesome. Thanks, Cyrus. We'll see if there's any questions for Cyrus in the chat, and we'll throw them his way. But for some of these folks, we're going to see their projects in a minute, Cyrus, and their calls to action and how others can either access or replicate some of the work that they've been doing. Do you have any tips for next steps for wanting to scale? I'm already looking at some of these websites that our innovators have, and they're awesome starts. What's your best tip for them for getting more users, getting more adoption on some of these really great projects they've got going on?
You know, it's funny. How do projects get to the tipping point? There's probably a gazillion different books that have been written on it. You know, obviously, first make sure that you have an incredibly useful, great product that you think is working well. So get obviously just a set of people that you know in your local community or whatever to use it and try it, iterate, make sure. And once you believe it's good enough, you know, don't over market it too early. Make sure you have all the low hanging fruit, easy stuff that you can fix done first. We've made that mistake, right, as well, where we get something out too early, then you kind of always think of it as this not fully ready thing. So I would say make sure it's at a good point. And all it's going to take, it's actually very interesting. All it's going to take is, you know, one or two interesting pivotal mentions or points that will make it just go all of a sudden, it'll go like fire. Think hard about how easy it is for people to go through the funnel to your product. How easy is it for them to find it? How easy is it for them to sign up? How easy is it for them to use? And I would say, you know, ideally, if you have marketing or PR options, those are great. Those are usually, you know, PR is usually less expensive and sometimes more effective than general marketing and ads and whatnot. But I would say, but that's sometimes harder, right? To find someone to do PR for you. The good news with the education community, I will say that I find very different than enterprise, where I've worked for about 20, 25 years, is you're not really competing, right? The schools aren't necessarily, you'll see some of it, or some of you are probably thinking, well, there's a little bit of that. But for the most part, it's an extremely tight, collaborative community, which is because, you know, if you're a public school in Milwaukee, you're not really competing with a school in suburban Michigan, right? It doesn't necessarily work that way. And so that's one of the reasons that they're so happy to share information. So I would say it's actually one of the reasons that your product can actually swell pretty quickly, which is good.
Awesome, Cyrus. We did get a question from Leslie about when will the updates for Google Classroom be finished. Thanks, Leslie.
Oh, they probably just saw the announcements. Very nice. Did everyone see all of the back to school announcements? Jay can't tell if anyone's nodding, but I'm going to assume. That's actually a good question. That would probably be a good question for the Google Classroom team. Although I can probably find out on chat while we are, if you have any other questions. I know all the PMs on the Classroom team.
Thanks, Cyrus. And how about for some that maybe are moving on to new roles or are starting an innovation project from scratch after completing this one? Anything that you do in your own routine for being creative or innovating? How do you start when you're maybe have sunsetted a project or finished? How do you get started on a new one?
Yeah, I mean, there's two places you can go, right? One is you kind of react to what people are already wanting or asking for, which is easy, right? Product managers could end up just doing that forever. The problem is those tend to be fairly incremental because it's rare that a user is going to ask for something that's completely brand new and game changing. So I would say when you are brainstorming, don't be afraid to think very big. Some of the project aspirations were very large, which I loved because they were truly like on the order of how can we change education? How can we change how people teach? How can we change how communities interact with people? So I think big, and that will free you to some degree to rethink problems entirely. I mean, you could think enormously big, right? How could we make the best virtual teacher on the planet, right? One that learns about you, knows about you, etc. But that tends to make people a little uncomfortable. Oh God, I don't want to replace a teacher, right? And so, but you shouldn't be scared to think about all of the possible futures that are there in education, I would say. So.
Awesome, love it. And Derek has asked, how can we connect with developers to float our idea? A lot of our innovators often have really great ideas, and it's all about finding good connections with either mentors or folks that don't have the skills that maybe you need to ship a project. So everyone's been really resourceful about finding that kind of talent or resource. Any thoughts around how to best pair with developers to get a minimum viable product off the ground?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the board of 2 different organizations, and I have a ton of people that are in startups. The good news is, I would say, you can get free development, so don't feel like you have to pay money, which is the very good news. And free development doesn't mean poor development. If you actually have an idea that you feel you could monetize and make money out of, then you know for sure you're going to be able to offer a developer 10% of the company, which may seem like a lot, but they're basically building the whole thing for you. That's an easy thing to do. In fact, you can post those kinds of things even on LinkedIn. You can just say, hey, looking for a developer that wants, has some part-time or has some spare hours to do something, willing to offer equity in a startup, and then let them kind of look at the idea. If they're bought in, if they're excited, they can do it. So you actually don't need to spend a lot of money on development resources, which is kind of nice. So.
Hey, that's super inspiring. Thanks, Cyrus. We'll go ahead and jump into some of the projects. Feel free to stick around, and if you have any other questions for Cyrus, just drop them in. But we're going to get to some of your innovation projects now and share your links. And if we can maybe keep it to about a minute or so each, and then that way we can have some questions in the chat that folks might have around your project, that would be great. But first, since there's so many awesome people here, I'm going to invite everyone to unmute at once and just give a big hey. All right. So on the count of 3, everyone unmute, and we'll all say hey. All right. 1, 2, 3.
Hey.
That feels better. It's always, I'm sure Cyrus was noticing too, it's always weird when it's silent with all these awesome people in the house. So thanks, guys. And feel free, after someone presents, we'll just have open floor and just unmute, and you may awkwardly speak over someone else, but I think that's okay. We all know each other in here. Thanks so much, Cyrus. That was super inspiring and so great to hear about avenues and pathways that folks can take next to get their projects to the next level or start new ones. Cool. With that, you guys, we'll share your challenge and your solution. I'll go ahead and bring up on my screen your projects and then take a minute and share with us. And importantly, the call to action if you want folks to submit something on your site. Do you want them to sign up for a newsletter? Do you want them to run a workshop? Whatever your call to action is that you're trying to get for your users, let's share it here and see if we can't all crowdsource and help you get your project even more users and folks using it. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and share my other screen with my projects on it. Look at all those awesome people together 1 year ago. Application window, let's do this one. We're going to kick off first with Studio EDU with Eddie Small. Eddie, are you on the call?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, Eddie, awesome. Why don't you tell us a 1-minute version of Studio EDU and how folks can get involved?
Yeah, so Studio EDU is kind of an all-in-one solution for schools looking to bring in any type of audio-video content, small studios to build out their virtual video learning. So as you guys know, video production is my passion for a while now, ever since I was a little kid, and taught it for a little while. And we had an opportunity to go through the motions here, and I actually got a business partner that reached out to me and said he felt like this was a super cool idea and he wanted to be a part of it. So we launched Studio EDU about 3 or 4 months ago as an LLC. So it's Studio EDU LLC in Indiana. And we've already built our first studio with one of our fellow innovators in New Pal. So if you were to click on our Facebook page, there's just getstudioedu.com. And then the Facebook page is at the bottom. You'll see some of the work we've done at New Pal, Indiana. So it's a lot of fun. It's it's definitely been time consuming as we all try to juggle. This has become kind of a part-time job. We've had a ton of calls and a ton of interest. We're just trying to focus on where we're going to go next. So really super excited about getting to talk about it with you guys.
Oh, this is so awesome, Eddie. It looks really great, and all the love coming in right now. Does anyone have any specific questions for Eddie in Studio EDU, or just general comments of awesome? Just unmute and shower Eddie with it.
Hey, Eddie, it's John. Awesome job.
Hey,
I know you and I talked a lot about this, and I'm hoping that it grows tremendously for you. Was it difficult, and what was the process like to do the LLC thing?
LLC wasn't difficult at all, and it helps if you find somebody that kind of has done it before. They can walk you through it. There's a ton of websites, even like LegalZoom. We'll do it for you if you kind of know who the owners are going to be and what kind of company you're going to run. It's not fairly expensive as well. Like I was very nervous about starting the LLC. That was something I didn't want to do, but I had a buddy that was an accountant, and like I said, a business partner reached out to me, so he kind of took a lot of the heavy lifting off my plate as far as contracts go and standard work agreements, things like that. But it was pretty straightforward and pretty simple. Like I feel like I was nervous for nothing. It was one of those things once we started diving into what it looked like and how it needed to be processed. It went pretty smooth. So I also got lucky. Like somebody came to me and said, I'm a business guy. I've done this before, And
then did you have to like change your name around because it was taken already, or like was that an issue at all, or were you?
Yeah. So I wanted to call it Small School Studios because of my last name. And that obviously we talked about that for a long time, the connotations with, and I was like, but it's my last name. But well, you need to be bigger than just small. So we had a lot of those marketing conversations. then we kind of landed on a few and just talked about them for a couple weeks, and then said, like, I like Studio EDU. It sounds good. The alliteration of it is nice, and it fit really well with kind of the logo I was thinking. So yeah, that was pretty simple, straightforward process.
Awesome, Eddie, and great questions, John. Maybe if anyone else has questions about following that route with LLCs, hit Eddie up, but that sounds like some really great advice. Cyrus, if you're still on there, I heard something that probably everyone has, and we'll probably hear about it with Amber when we look at Burned In Teacher, but the amount of time it takes to do this. Any thoughts on your time when you have, Cyrus, a couple of projects in the hopper, plus real world stuff, plus the family stuff? Any tips for balancing all of that?
This is actually very timely, because I'm actually giving I was asked to give a TED talk on exactly that, which I'm doing in 3 weeks. But it's exactly on that, which is extremely difficult, especially when you have side projects and juggling all of this. But there's a ton of great books on tips on doing this. One of the easiest ways I found to not feel overwhelmed and always feel like you're inadequate because you're not able to do anything because you're trying to do everything is trying to time box it, right? Leave a segment if you can just to this, like, and it can even just be an hour a day, which ends up being a good amount of time. But yeah.
Awesome, thanks. And I like Lisa's response that is that even a thing, balance. So thanks for the tips, and we'll look for your TED talk. Thanks, Cyrus. All right, guys, let's keep cruising. Thanks, Eddie. Any other questions, just drop them in for Eddie, but so great to see. Next up,
Thanks,
have got Chris is going to share a bit about Super Duper Student Engagement Toolkit.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. How are you doing, Chris?
Doing great. All right. So, well, this is the Student Engagement Toolkit. And for me, making learning better for students is my passion. Where it came about, like, I believe in the power of data to shape education, but I feel like schools generally are not focusing on the right data, which is a test score. And I think, as everyone in here knows and agrees, students are more than that. And so what this does is the toolkit allows for educators to get feedback from students, you know, their emotional needs and engagement to sort of shape that lesson and also lessons going forward. So rather than looking at, you know, assessment data, we're looking at the students' you know, social emotional needs as data, you know, which hopefully to move towards student engagement away from compliance. So as you're scrolling down, currently it pairs with Plickers to get feedback. And so when you print it off double-sided, the students can anonymously give feedback data that the teacher can use. Where, if I'm being completely honest with the project, though, I feel like its greatest weakness currently is that it is paired with another product. So if Plickers would go out tomorrow, like, I'd be lost. And so, you know, as we learned at Innovator, you know, like, creating new iterations and improving your product is key. And so what I'm looking to do is to turn this into a chat bot that could get that same data from students on engagement and potentially answer basic questions, which that data could be fed to the teacher. And I think also it would allow the teacher to kind of more efficiently interact with the room. And so my awesome mentor, Emily Fitzpatrick, connected me with a developer to kind of build this into its own standalone product. And so that's where it's at. And so, you know, sort of my call to action, I'd love for educators to use it and try it. You know, I think you'll get some valuable insight on how your students are viewing your lesson. And the only thing I would like is some feedback on, you know, what's working, what's not working, and ways that it could be improved. My Twitter handle there is at the bottom, and they can use that. But yeah, that's the Student Engagement Toolkit.
Yay! Everybody unmute and give some snaps for Eddie and Chris. Oh, that looks great. I think, Chris, you brought up a good point that keep getting feedback, and please keep using the community and our Google group and the hashtag to keep throwing stuff at us and get some feedback. If you guys have any questions for Chris, drop it in the chat. But lots of people thinking it looks awesome. Yay. And you mentioned your mentor. Do we have any coaches or mentors on the call? I see Coach Mark Garrison. Are you there, Mark?
Yeah. Hey, Wendy. How you doing? Hey, everybody.
Good. Thanks for coming. Who do you have any as a coach at DC? Any thoughts of any good warm and fuzzy thoughts after you're seeing a few of these when they came into the Google office a year ago and where they are now?
Oh my gosh, this is so inspiring, and just being able to follow this crew for the last year and being able to connect with people at different conferences has been like actually really impactful for me. I feel like I got so much more out of this as a coach than I ever expected. So it's this a really, really remarkable crew of people who has the ability to change the world and is just taking it on. So I'm just psyched to be even peripherally involved with it.
Oh, thanks, Mark, and thanks for coming and supporting everyone today. I see Susan in the chat as well as a mentor. Feel free, Susan, to share your favorite part of being a mentor too in the chat. Thanks, Tammy, too, for being here. Cool. Let's keep cruising, and we've got up next the lovely Susan was in here. Susan, did you pop out? Susan might have popped out and into YouTube Live as a mentor. But Susan, I'll still drop in your current project here. I'll drop that in the chat as well. Add a comment to her blog. So thanks, Susan, for mentoring, and thanks for coming. Next up, we've got Jill. You're going live in 2 weeks, and I love that everyone is at different phases, and it's totally okay if your project isn't as big as you thought it would be a year ago. But I think now is a really great time to either put it in the blog or make your site go live in the next month or so, and get out there what you've learned. And even if you want to button it up and move on to a new project, at least document what you've got and what you can share. Jill, did you want to share about your upcoming author chats and things with your project?
Sure, I'd love to share. Pages is what it's going to be called, and it's going to be a YouTube live channel that connects authors and students. So it'll be a place for authors to showcase their books, while classrooms have the opportunity to ask the author any questions they have about the books that are coming out.
Oh, I love it. Who do you think your first author might be? Who do you have on your horizon?
Well, I'm not allowed to say just yet, but it's pretty big in the author world, so I'm really excited. It's an author that came to our school before, so I have a great connection with him, and hopefully it'll go really well.
Yay, and we all love swag in this group, and I'm already looking at the mug, and probably the question on everyone's mind is, when will the Percolating Pages mug be available for purchase?
Yes, it was really fun coming up with the name of it. We went back and forth. My mentor, Brooke Whitlow, was awesome with helping me with that, but we settled on Percolating Pages. And like I said, the bottom line is authors, kids.
Love it, Jill. Nice job. Snaps for Jill, everyone. As Adnan says, it is available, so get it before Adnan does on GoDaddy. And Eddie is guessing maybe it's R.L. Stine, which I would die if it was R.L. Stine. So we'll all be waiting to see your announcement of who the secret author is. Cool. Thanks, Jill. If you have any questions for Jill, drop them in the chat. Let's go on to Diana. Welcome, Diana. We've got for you, let's see. Do I have the right guy up? Oh, no, this is our License to Ill. Oh, my gosh. Tell us about this. Diana, how are you?
Hey, guys. Good. How are you?
Good. Tell us about License to Ill and how we can get involved.
All right. So my call to action is really, we've all heard as educators the phrase beg, borrow, and steal. And my call to action is to try to build awareness so that that mantra that we've all heard starts to shift from beg, borrow, steal to ask, share, and cite. And so throughout the past year, I've had lots of pivots, but I've been building resources, materials, and professional development to kind of spread the message that issues in copyright and that copyright itself is not necessarily the death of creativity, but can actually support creativity. And so as I've tried to find the best way to support teachers in all things copyright and information literacy, I just wanted to share this one artifact with you, this License to Ill presentation that you can use with teachers and educators. And it does two things. It really brings awareness to the mission of Creative Commons. It helps teachers find and use openly licensed materials in the instructional materials that they're creating for their students. It helps them cite things correctly. And then later on, it helps you to license the stuff that you are building to promote sharing. So just one way that I've been trying to help teachers in Indiana specifically so far, just try to be more aware of what Creative Commons can offer you, and then how copyright can really support creativity and promote sharing.
Oh, this looks really great, Diana, and it looks like a ready to roll presentation. Is this usable by folks we've just shared the link with?
Yep. This is, I've done it in a couple different ways, but this is the whole presentation. I usually chunk it because it's kind of a lot, but I've done this at a number of different presentations over the summer, different conferences, and a Google Summit. And so, yeah, this is definitely ready to use.
Oh, that's great. Snaps for Diana, everybody. Unmute and snaps. And as Marcus says, that's very important work. And I think this is super relevant to a lot of people. So I think your call to action of getting this in front of other teachers and helping spread awareness is really huge. And Adnan have dropped in, there's a link to her prezzo. Thanks, Mark, for the tech snap. Awesome, Diana. Any questions for Diana? Drop them in. And we'll keep cruising. Thanks, that looks so good. Next up, we've got Mike with Help Parents. Let me get your link up. There we are, Help at Home. Tell us about this.
Awesome. Well, hey guys, it's so exciting to see all of you. It's been so long since I've seen all of you. It's so exciting to see you again. So my project was Help at Home. If you remember, my goal was to help parents better connect with their students. What we saw at Chagrin was after going one-to-one, a lot of our parents felt more disconnected rather than more connected. So really, I've spent the last year building my email list. I had an awesome mentor out of New York. Her name's Jennifer Kronk. If you ever get a chance to meet her, she's awesome. She encouraged me to start with a newsletter, which I've done. I think some of you have subscribed. If you haven't, my call to action is go to that link and please subscribe. Kind of where I'm headed. Yeah, Nick, she's awesome. Where I'm headed now, I actually have a book proposal into EdTech team. Hint, hint, Mark. Actually just waiting to hear back on that. And then I'm also working on developing kind of an online course for parents. So I've spent the last year developing the content. Now we're going toward kind of getting that content out there more and more, and really hoping to get kind of make parents aware of how we're using technology in education. It's been an awesome year. I can't wait for the next year, but it's been an awesome year so far.
Awesome, Mike. Looks like we have a nice sign up on your site to get folks involved. Snaps for Mike. Snap it up. Any questions for Mike about Help at Home? Drop that in. And maybe, Mark, you can share, that's a really good point, that maybe you're thinking about next steps with your project, if it could be a book or a presentation like Diana's, or an online course or a workshop. Mark, do you have any steps about any ideas or strategies for taking that next step?
Oh boy, I wasn't really prepared to speak about it, but certainly from our perspective, we'd love to hear it. If anybody thinks they've got a book in them, and for what it's worth, I think pretty much everybody I'm looking at here has a book in them. You know, we'd love to hear about it, because whether or not it's winds up published on paper, or winds up as an online class, or winds up as a workshop or an app or an extension, you know, those are all ways to amplify what you guys are doing, and you know, help share your experience and your passion with other educators. So if there's any way we can help, I'd love to hear about it. So reach out anytime. That's always, I guess, a good next step is reach out, right?
Yay, and let's give Mark some consolation snaps. You don't have a project. Consolation snaps for Mark. Thank you, Mark. All right. Thanks so much, Mike, for sharing Help Parents. Let's go to Jason, Racialized EDU.
Hi.
A bit about this and what you're up to and how we can get involved.
So my project changed. A lot of it came from inspiration from Jenny McGeera. So shout out to Jenny. She did a lot of work with educators of color at Chicagoland and with OVA Academy that was really inspired. So what I did is I spent the year looking to my community, looking at educators of color and trying to source out what the needs were. And we came up with our 3 mission points, which is to build a positive community, promote conversations about identity for all educators, and then to take action in our local communities. So we spend the year sort of curating material. So the call to action really is to join us on Twitter, where we've curated a bunch of different articles. And we're moving to the next phase where we're trying to make our own content. We're trying to shift from being consumers to creators. So we're creating a video series called Real Talk. We're trying to tackle issues of like implicit bias, stereotypes, microaggressions, trying to get that out there. We're starting a blog, and we're hoping to start a program to empower educators to take action in the community. We're going to lean on using design thinking to really empower educators to find a problem in their community related to diversity, equity, or inclusion, and give them the tools to be able to change that and make that happen.
Awesome, Jason. This looks really nice. Snaps for Jason. Give some snaps. Any questions for Jason, drop them in. But this is really cool to see kind of your scaled approach of starting with kind of just curation and then moving to creation. I see our lovely design coach, Les, just joined the call. Les, I know with Future Design School, you've kind of followed a pathway where you can move to just starting out, or like how Diana's been presenting, and then taking it to that next step of creating stuff. Do you have any tips for Jason and anyone else who's taking that leap with their project? If you're there, Les. Les is probably on a boat. All right, Les, we'll wait for you because we know that you'll pipe in somewhere. But thanks, Les, and thanks, Jason. Oh wait, I hear error. Is that you? No. All right, cool. We'll go to our next project because we have a ton more to get through. These are all so exciting. Thanks, Jason. Next up, we have Marcus Borders. Marcus is going to share with us about Parent Tech Connect. Tell us. This looks really great, Marcus.
Hey, everyone. It's so good to hear from everybody. So I am moving at a snail's pace with mine, and I'm actually okay to admit that. I've actually, over the summer, I realized that I can connect a lot of the work that I'm doing with my grad school work and the school that I actually support as a coach. So my project is actually very similar, excuse me, guys, to Mike's. And he and I actually chatted when we were in DC last year. But my work, I'm actually trying to make sure that I connect physically with the parents, especially considering the community that I support. A lot of those parents are missing the connections between the technology that we're getting in school and the technology that they can actually utilize at home. So making it sustainable for the people that are actually using it is very important to me. And I'm actually still collecting feedback from parents. So far, I've gotten almost 100 people to respond. And that is in order that's just as a means of me making sure that I create a space for them that's sustainable, it's meaningful, and they can actually carry it out and learn from it. So that's where I am at the moment. I've just posted my video there, and there's the form. Registration is coming soon, and that will start at one of the schools that I support. So as we continue to get involved into the school year, it'll go a little bit deeper.
Awesome, Marcus. Snaps all around. Snaps all around. And also snaps because your shirt and your emoji matches the color scheme of Parent Tech Connect, which is pretty amazing. And I think it's cool, like even if you guys see today on the showcase, maybe you haven't connected with everybody, but if you have projects that are similar, I think what's so neat is that Mike's is relevant to his environment. This is relevant to your parents, but both of you could certainly still learn and band together to make connecting parents with tech awesome. So hope you guys connect and collaborate, maybe even on this or a new project. Looks great. Any questions for Marcus? Drop them in. It looks like we did get a question for Jason. Have you decided to do some face-to-face? Oh, cool. That's the plan to roll out the program. Cool.
Hey, Wendy, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah. Hey, Les. Are you on the boat like we thought, or where are you?
No, I'm in my car, but I couldn't figure out. I lost the Hangout app in the new Android iOS. I got lost. I found it though.
Awesome.
Made it back.
We teed you up about Jason's project of kind of scaling and starting out with creation and curation and working towards creation, and next step to make a project bigger or get face-to-face or do online courses or things like that. Any thoughts and kind of the design process that can help someone make that leap?
I would say, so in terms of just building, scaling up, you've sort of got a prototype that you've tested and now you want to build it big. Is that the question?
Yeah, I think so. Or maybe with Racialized EDU with Jason, having a great site that starts to bring in, Twitter feeds and curriculum, but making that next step towards either having a face-to-face program or creating content like presentations or courses. Any tips for how they might be able to do that?
Yeah, I would say that the biggest thing is to use the network and try to leverage all of the people that you already know. Being super active on social media is a good way to go. And I know with Jason's project, especially here in Toronto, I feel like there might be other networks that he could tap into. Jason, if you're still on here, that would help you to leverage that. I feel like it's just about knocking on a lot of doors. When we first were starting our workshops with Future Design School, I was just calling everybody I knew saying, hey, do you want to come do a workshop? And it's just that real hustle, but also thinking about what you can do that is scalable, and face-to-face events might be harder, but if you could do online meetups, then you have a wider audience instead of just people that are in your city. Or I love the Pub PD model too, around sort of doing simultaneous face-to-face events in different cities. That's I think another way to sort of scale it up. Find people in different cities that are willing to be your champions and have them build it out.
That's a great idea. Almost all these projects could benefit, even if it's not a full-blown event or something. You can always get people to come and talk about Parent Tech Connect or talk about Racialized EDU and feedback. I love it. Thanks, Les.
No problem.
All right, cool. We're going to go on to Nick's project, Sped Hub. Come on in. How are you, Nick?
Doing great, guys. Great to hear from all of you and reconnect 1 year later. So Sped Hub kind of is a project that, for me personally, I was formerly a special education teacher for 9 years, and I loved the work that I did and the impact that I had with the kids that I worked with. But the most challenging component, and my challenge, was the paperwork that comes along with it, and the legal paperwork that you have to do, and the hours that are spent by so many special education teachers and school psychologists and social workers. And my vision was there's got to be a better way to create a resource that could be available to all, going forward. So my project ended up being called the Sped Hub. It's the link's there, but it's also bit.ly and CHSD 117 Sped Hub. And what ended up happening is my district that I work for has adopted it as their platform for organizing resources and such. But the only big thing that I'm really asking for is if you work in, know people who work in student services, special education, how we can work together to provide resources to make lives easier for all involved in special education, to release some of that burden and focus more on making that impact with the kids going forward.
Awesome. Wow, this looks really great, Nick. Snaps all around for Nick. Yay. Cool. Hopefully we can help you get some more resources in there. And then it's all about getting more users to both submit and to use this. So hopefully all of you are thinking about either South by Southwest. I know a couple of you have a panel picker out right now that's due, or ISTE, or anywhere where you might be able to get some more adoption and users, because all of these are so wonderful. So thanks, Nick. If you have any questions for Nick, drop them in. Derek gave you a double wow. Yay, Marcus. Thanks for sharing this with your schools. I think even starting with Les's knock on door policy is right here. If all of us shared this with special ed teachers we know, that's 36 more. Cool. All right, let's keep going. We got Todd. Todd, are you on the line with GIFs for EDU? And are you a GIF or GIF for EDU?
I'm a GIF.
Okay, noted.
We got to take a hard line. I had this discussion broke out in the middle of my launch a month ago, where I called it GIFs for kids, and somebody actually corrected me in the middle of my launch.
Awesome. Well, tell us about it. I'll drop this link in chat. And I thought, Todd, how you did your launch, and a lot of you have been slow launches online and making a splash. But I thought it was really fun to see how you made a splash with this and made it really an event. And maybe even for someone like Percolating Pages too can follow suit with how you choose to hype up or make your launch really special. So tell us a bit about it.
Absolutely. So pardon my cold. It wouldn't be the back to school season without me getting a head cold. But GIFs for Kids started as just as a way to use GIFs in an educational manner. And I had always used them within my classes and tried to get kids to use them. But the hard part was always finding a way to make sure that how they were accessing them was safe. And all of the GIF sites that are out there are not always, the best place to find them. So this kind of came more out of necessity than anything else. So it's a teacher vetted repository for GIFs that you can use. This kind of came more out of necessity than anything. Whoa, that's an echo. So as of right now, we actually just expanded again today. So we launched on July 21st with the site as it is right now. So we added 5 additional languages that the GIFs can be searched for. So regardless of where the GIF is being submitted from or the tags the keywords that they're being submitted with, you can search for them in over 20 different languages at this point. Our plan by the end of the year is to have closer to 40 languages that are supported within the search platform. So I ended up doing my launch with a local conference here in Orlando, and we actually have a G Suite cohort where kind of like the tech leaders of local schools here, we get together and just kind of figure out what everybody's problems are, what are they experiencing, what did they learn, and we try to meet every other month. And out of that relationship came this offer to release my project. So that kind of came about in around April. And at that point I was like, okay, well, now I have a deadline. So it kind of made me put a lot of time back into the project, and they were very gracious enough to allow me to launch it live at their conference, which was awesome to see the reactions of people using it for the first time really in front of me.
Awesome. Oh, it looks great, and lots of great love in the chat. Snaps for Todd and GIFs for kids. And then maybe in the chat, we're going to keep going, but it would be awesome to hear how you created, if you want to drop in the chat, how you created your logo and any tips for that. But I'll keep on cruising and go to Kayla Holland. Kayla is going to share with us a little bit about Go Be Love. Hey, Kayla, how are you? I see you, and I see 2 of you. Maybe one mic will work. Shoot, yeah, we don't hear you, Kayla.
I'm here, sorry.
Oh, there you are, awesome.
My Chrome quit unexpectedly. So I didn't hear what you said because I jumped off the call because Chrome quit, and then I came back on and I saw my slide deck up.
No worries. Tell us a bit about Go Be Love and how we might be able to help out.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is definitely a 180 from the direction I went when I left the Innovator Academy last year. and just really with my mentor is Tanya Averith, and she's wonderful and amazing. Just really struggled the first 6 months of the year with the project that I was running, and at the same time was kind of running this project to go to Haiti. And I've just fallen in love with this country and the people you see there, Pastor Lex and Renee, and there's a school. And so this idea began as this small, like, hey, I think we should do something. And now I was able to go in the summer with a team of 6 teachers from my school, and we led a professional development there for 50 Haitian teachers, and it was incredible. And they, this is kind of a private-ish school in Haiti. They have 800 students in 12 classrooms, if you can imagine that. So right now, really, my call to action is like support in any way you can. I'm taking kids in January, and I'm taking more teachers next summer. So if you want to donate Chromebooks, hint Google, or come on a trip with me, or help me brainstorm, like, I am up for whatever. I hope that this grows into being something amazing and huge and changing the whole world of education in Haiti. But right now, it's really just a simple project where we just go and love on people and grow together in a community of educators, because believe it or not, like, a lot of their problems are very similar to ours, despite being in 2 totally different worlds. So yeah, that's basically, that's Go Be Love.
Wait, we need a collective on instead of snaps. All right, 1, 2, 3.
So can I tell you a real quick story about the guy that's hugging me in that picture? That is the principal of the school. And culturally, at the beginning of the week, he felt that it was disrespectful to be led by a woman. And by the end of the week, we had just become good friends and kind of broken down some cultural expectations. So the hug was really important, and it just kind of represents the breaking down of cultural walls. So it was really important.
Oh, what a special story. And I love this presentation. I think this is a good model for anyone who wants to share impact. Like, this is a great impact deck. Like, you just really knocked out with the story of what you've been up to. And if you're looking for people to donate and share, like, something like this is so powerful. Thanks so much, Kayla. All right.
Thank you.
Leslie, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you've been up to? Let me pull up your link. We've got the Steamtastic school bus. Tell us.
Okay, following Kayla is going to be like a huge letdown. Thanks, Kayla. I appreciate that. My project, I was actually, oh, guys, it's great to see y'all, even though I'm looking at a lot of still pictures, but it's great to see your faces. I was actually in the middle of pivoting and doing something else, and then I was at ISTE and had a conversation with Mark, and Mark is wonderful, by the way. But I was in the middle of pivoting because I think most of you all know that I'm a foster parent. I don't currently have a child, but I had one last year, and he went home in November. So being a foster parent and seeing what's going on with the foster children in our community, it's just something that has weighed heavily on me. So I wanted to do something with foster kids. But then when I got back to work, this pot of money came available because one of my concerns was, how do I get all of this money for what I need for the bus? Well, our director of federal programs, and this has been the biggest kept secret in my district, she has this huge pot of money that nobody knew about. And so she decided that we were going to do some STEM education in our district. And somebody said, well, Fagan is doing this bus, ask her what she needs. So they told me, make a list of what you need. And I made a list of about $60,000 worth of stuff. So right now she's getting that approved by the state DOE, and the bus is sitting at the bus yard waiting to be gutted and transformed and all of that. So while I'm doing that, I am also transitioning into my next project, which is going back to the foster kids. We have about 250 foster kids in our district, and they're very transient because, their parents can't afford the rent in one place and they end up having to move somewhere else. The little boy that I had with me started 4th grade we've been in school a month already. He started 4th grade and he's already been to 8 schools, 7 of them in our district. So he has huge learning gaps. So what I'm doing is writing grants to get, I think probably I can get some Khajiit hotspots to have wireless access and some devices so that when we have our monthly foster parent meetings, the children can do some computer science coding kind of things to help with their learning, because they're not getting it at home. And when you're at, 3 or 4 different schools in one school year, there's just an awful lot going on. So I'm trying to juggle both projects in addition to my the project that I came to the Innovator Academy with that I thought that I was going to drop, but I'm not dropping it because how do you pass up free money? And also it's a tribute to my mother. My mom's name was Ernestine, and she had a heart for children. She started the first mentoring program in our school district. So I'm doing this for her, and I'm doing the foster care thing for the little boy that I had with me last year and the rest of the kids in our district. So that's what Leslie's doing.
Oh, snaps all around for Leslie. Oh my gosh, and way to go. Like, I know it can be hard sometimes to let go of projects you're interested in. So hopefully you find ways to either keep a project going while you work on new ones by either finding others on your team to help you out with it, or even some of these can just be legacy forms and things that can be up there and take little maintenance to keep going once you get it up. So I'm so proud of you. Nice work, Leslie. If you guys have any questions for Leslie, drop it in. I know we are at the hour, but we still have a few left, and we want to make sure we get to everyone. But I will give a chance if Cyrus needs to go. I know it's evening. Cyrus, do you have any final thoughts or goodbye for our awesome innovators before you head out?
No, this has inspired me tremendously. Thank you, everyone, and best of luck. Do reach out.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Cyrus. And Dan, I know you popped in briefly. Are you there, Dan? Is your mic working okay?
Yep, it's working great. I've been listening the whole time on YouTube, and I just got back to a place where I can be on Hangouts again too. So
I love it. Awesome. Any words of wisdom or advice on moving forward?
I can't compete with all the great ideas and insights and all of that. It's just what a neat group, and just really inspired by the work you're all doing.
Thanks, Dan. And Dan and the team are here to support you guys, even though your year is ending. You'll get less emails from us, but please feel free to keep in touch for sure. And, we're here to support you in any way. Thanks, Dan. All right, guys, let's go. Stick around. We'll go. Maybe we can take 10 more minutes and wrap up. We got John with Hipstery.network. John, tell us about it.
Hi, how are we going? Yeah, so I've launched the Hipstery Network. As you guys know, you guys actually helped me figure out my name and everything. Went through a couple different iterations, and through the idea is to connect as I teach Hipstery, or hands-on individualized project-based history. I want more teachers doing projects across the country, and frankly, there are a lot that do some of it too already, and so I want to connect them, because the biggest thing is, where do you start? And you can go to like a Buck Institute training or like Edutopia and get some ideas, but if you've never done PBL before, it's very intimidating. And so the idea is to have a place on the site where you can actually find other educators across the country that teach this style of history and social studies, and connect with them and have them kind of as a mentor for a bit. So Mari and I spent many hours going through kind of these, like, what would the expectations be for a mentor and stuff. And then lots of kind of coding hours through the awesome tables on the back end and everything. And so we have a couple, actually, like, they're right now it's kind of just in the Pacific Northwest, and then James out in Minnesota. But I even created some stickers now, so I've got some swag that I can give out to teachers when they sign up and share projects. I've actually sent out a couple. So it's starting to grow very, very slowly. But, you know, the idea is there. We want teachers to be empowered and start this type of, like, even place-based learning and stuff like that. But in order to do that, you got to connect with the teachers and really help them through it, because it can be very, very, very intimidating. And then excited to see like what everyone is doing has been awesome.
Oh, I love it. This is really cool. So folks can sign up now and potentially be matched here in the future.
Possibly, yeah. Right now we've only got like 4 mentors, but you know, I just, if you guys like seriously just share this with your social studies teachers, that's what I need. Is I need people to see the projects and like see what's up there. And like the idea is like we want to share and just grow this style of teaching. And if they can just spend like a little bit of time as a mentor, be great. You know, it was fun to learn all this stuff, but there are teachers like this in your schools, and just please just share it. Like that's all I can really ask for to help grow it. So
awesome. Well, Tyler's behind you. Derek mentioned what mediums you're using to reach out about it. That's a really good question about, you know, I think with Twitter and obviously relevant hashtags.
Yeah, I've got the Twitter account. I'm creating the Facebook group, which is there now too. I could send out those links. Maybe even create just a whole page for it as well, to get people going to the site and everything. But
awesome.
Yeah, so
yeah, and I think to reiterate Les's knock on doors, even if you have anyone like John does with potential partners, right, like Buck and New Tech, and you know, making that kind of campaign style email that's saying send this out, be involved, would you like to do a webinar, you know, I think all of this stuff can help activate some of these larger, big resources.
Although I will say, like, this is, I know a lot of people are scared of this. And so, like, because I've actually put in to present to this particularly at the National Social Studies Conference, which I presented at like the last 4 years. And this actually got turned down. So it is progressive. I know people are scared of it, but I firmly believe this is the right thing to be doing. So like, it's interesting to see how it's perceived in certain arenas. But I know you guys should be on board with it.
Well, keep it up. Sometimes those are precisely the things we need to be working on. So thanks, John, for fighting the good fight for project-based learning. Love it. All right, cool. Next up, we got Andrew. Are you around, Andrew, still for Empower EDU?
I am. So this project is, I don't know how many times I've pivoted throughout this process. I think I started off thinking to try and impact too large of an audience. So now it's kind of driven by my district itself. So this project is kind of meant to streamline the partnership between instructional coaches or tech coaches and the gen ed teacher, or just any teacher in general. So on down that page, what happens is this is filled out. There's a Google form that's filled out by a teacher, ideally would fill this out and ask them to kind of tap into what some of their values are with learning. It also asks them to identify one of the 4 C's that they might be curious about integrating into their classroom. And once they submit that form, there's a spot on the form to enter an instructional coach's email. And what happens is it ends up sending out an email. And if you click at the top where it says sample, this is kind of what shows up in their inbox. So it's kind of a way to jumpstart the conversation with teachers in the coaching conversations that exist. So that's kind of where the project has gone. It has been a resource that we've used with just building conversations with teachers to streamline that process and hopefully lead with an instructional strategy as opposed to a tool always leading those conversations.
Oh, this looks really great and super user friendly, and you can really just pick up and go with some of this. This is really awesome. Snaps all around. Oh, and John, I don't know if we got your snaps before. So it's double snaps. If you have any questions for Andrew, drop those in, but loving seeing people making those connections. So make sure to email and follow up with anyone that has relevant connections to you for sure. All right, guys, the goodness keeps going. We've got Amber, Burnden teacher. Tell us a bit about how it's evolved over the past year. Amber, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you see me and hear me?
Let's see, I hear you. And do we get Amber face?
It's okay if you can't see me.
There you are. I think everyone needs a collective chainsaw though first. So.
Oh my gosh, that's what I was going to say. First of all, I'm going to ask for a chainsaw at the end rather than snaps, if that's okay. All right, so I have some links in here I'm going to share right away. I'm going to try to go quickly because I have so much to share, and I know that it's past our time. So first of all, guys, one thing that I heard the other day in a group that I'm involved in is go for B- work. And I don't know how that sounds to you right away, but done is better than perfect. You can always go back and reevaluate and reflect and make changes later. So that's really what like my mantra is right now, like B- work. Done is better than perfect. So that's what I've been really going for. So what I've been working on right now is a free guide called the Burned In Teacher Method, 8 Steps to Take Control and Beat Burnout, starting now. My website has stayed the same since about March. I relaunched the site, burnedinteacher.com. It used to be just a blog, and now it's turning into a lot more. I used to think that I wanted to have like a community within that website, but it's something that is just going to come with time. But I do have a Facebook group, a private Facebook group of over 100 Facebook members, teachers who joined because they're feeling burned out and want some support. So I go live every Wednesday for 5 minutes, and I'm actually going to stop calling it live for 5 because it never lasts 5 minutes. And we discuss topics that they bring up as they join the group. So one of my calls to action would be to please join that group. And I'm kind of skipping around because I'm super nervous and trying to go too fast. But that free guide that I just finished today, I hoped to have on the site as an opt-in, but I just finished the first version of it today, and I would love for you guys to click on that link that I submitted. You guys have commenting capabilities. I would love your super honest feedback. It has YouTube videos on it, so I'm breaking into YouTube. I'm integrating, you know, these discussions that I'm having with my Facebook group weekly. I'm going to be integrating them into the site and starting a podcast, which is if you have been on the site or are planning to go to it in the future, it will start to look really different starting tomorrow, because I want to simplify it and really zoom in on my mission to serve burned out teachers and help them to find their passions and whether or not they even feel like they want to stay in the classroom any longer. So with the podcast, I would love to interview some of you, keeping in mind that who I really want to be on the podcast are real everyday teachers. I was just an everyday, didn't feel like I was out of the ordinary, going through burnout, and found my passion, which was, of course, Google, and it just inspired me. And I would love to hear your burned out stories and then how you have burned yourselves in as well. There are plenty of podcasts out there with master teachers and plenty of theory telling us what we should do. I totally get it. They're great. But I really want to meet those teachers who are just trying to get through the day right now. So yeah, so you can kind of see it up there right now. So I have that freebie. It's got worksheets and just some thought-provoking questions and some actions to take. So I'd love your feedback on that. I'm joining my Burned In blog and the EdTech blog. I'm now an ed tech consultant and a Google trainer full-time. So I get to bring in these services into classrooms and workshops that I lead through different places per month. So I am actually working right now on with this opt-in. I'm hoping to get people to want to join my first group coaching program, where I have teachers that I work with for 8 weeks because it is an 8-step program. Burned In is 8 steps. So, like I said, tons of stuff to share with you. I am so grateful. I know Tammy Lind, my mentor, she is watching on YouTube. I'm so grateful for her. I went through a really hard time when I was making the decision on whether or not to stay in the classroom or just go for it and jump. And she was so encouraging, and Jenny was amazing, and Les has been awesome. And I'm just so grateful for you guys. I know I reached out to several of you and it was just having a hard time. So I'm really glad I took the leap. I feel like it was the right thing for me. And that is what Burned In Teacher is all about, is helping teachers to realize what is right for them and taking actionable steps to make those changes that need to be made, help them be happier, because there's a lot of sad teachers out there. That was a lot of stuff. I'm sorry.
No, that's amazing. Everybody unmute and give a nice big chainsaw.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Nice. They're like Wookiee saw.
Wow, that was impressive.
Thank you, Amber. And I really love the example too. If anyone's thinking of what next to do, Amber, this guide is just such an easy thing. Kind of like with Diana's presentation too, like seeing if you guys can distill it into something super shareable and super doable like this. This is beautiful. And with worksheets and ready to go out of the box. So awesome work, Amber, and we're here for you. And thanks, Tammy, for being such a great mentor. She's in the chat rooting you on. All right, guys, we've got, if you have any questions for Amber, drop it in. It sounds like lots of folks want to help out. We've got Kat and DigiGuard. Kat, are you still there? Thanks, everyone, for sticking around.
Yeah, thank you. So I came back home with hopes of creating the materials around digital citizenship for my students that I work with and teachers who work in juvenile justice. And I was actually struck by something a little closer to home, which inspired this. The school that my middle schooler goes to had a human trafficker who posed as a local middle school student. And a lot of kids were kind of caught up in that, and thankfully no one was hurt. But we gathered together as a community of parents and realized that we had a lot to learn about keeping our kids safe and understanding digital law, especially in our state. And so I have been putting on presentations at different PTO meetings and schools locally, and started doing surveying parents and getting ideas around, you know, how many kids have cell phones, whether or not the parents let them have them at night, which, you know, according to the local police is when a lot of these kids are contacted, and just trying to get an idea of how we could create materials for both parents and students to stay safe when they're outside of school. And especially with FERPA, I think a lot of times it's hard to bring the community together. There's no longer like a directory. And so trying to create those connections when it's something where there's a lot of shame. Parents all are dealing with really interesting digital situations and they don't really know who to talk to about it. There isn't always a very clear answer of what to do. And so I've tried to create a forum where some of those responses can be filtered out and they have someone to talk to. I may not always have the answer, but I have a lot of resources that they can turn to. And so I've been publishing a newsletter and then also hosting workshops to help parents control their student devices and also lock down their browsers to just kind of teach them different ways that they can monitor the devices themselves. So it's been a really exciting road, and it definitely wasn't where I was headed, but it's become a very personal project for me. So I guess really just spreading the word. I think there's a lot of information out there if you want to share some of the forms on my site and get parents to sign up. I know even recently at a doctor's visit, the doctor was like, "Can I call you?" So I've done a little private consulting as well on the topic. But I just think it's a big need out there for parents to have someone they can reach out to when things happen and get some answers.
Awesome, Kat.
Awesome, Kat.
So great. And I love how sometimes it's not where you thought it would go, and then here you are. And that's sometimes the most important. Thanks so much. If you guys have questions for Kat, drop it in. We have 2 more innovators to share left. We've got Lisa. Tell us a little bit about Student Empowerment Project. Are you still here, Lisa?
Lisa had to leave the chat early, I believe.
Oh, bummer. Well, we'll tell Lisa, but it looks like she's got awesome connections with CAST, UDL, Text Help. Go slow in order to go fast. And she's on prototype 3 and testing it with the special education department. So Nick, maybe you can team up with Lisa, but thanks for sharing this, Lisa, if you watch this back, and we'll still give Lisa snaps. So
Lisa and I have actually been collaborating on that since we've been besties ever. We actually work 10 miles away from each other. So it's just one of those things we're contemplating doing as well.
Yay. Oh, awesome, Nick. Thanks, guys. All right. And we're going to end our showcase with Mr. Derek. Are you still with us, Derek?
Yep. Still going strong.
Still going strong. All right. Tell us, how has Au Pair Bear been? What's new?
Au Pair Bear is coming to life. I think, so to Lesa's point about knocking on doors, there's been a lot of knocking on doors. And it's funny because just when things start to seem a little bit grim and you can't really sort of seem to make things work, then something happens. And that's been really great. And just being open to possibilities. Micah's been great. Lesa's been great. I'm working with an incubator in my hometown. They're supporting me by connecting me with other people in my community who, knowledge partners and that kind of thing. And so it's just been a wild ride. I just finished up my business plan. I had my 3rd iteration of it. And so I'm pretty much good to go. And so now Les connected me with her husband, Odin, who works at Humber College in Toronto. And I also connected with our local college here, and the applied projects programs are going to look to sort of build a prototype, because I'm chasing free development, but Cyrus totally blew my mind. Thank you so much. And so, yeah, I'm going to reach out to some people on LinkedIn and see what we can do about, I'm happy to give 10%, 15%, whatever, to try to get this thing built. Because ultimately, I believe this app, so it's taken a new shape. It's in the form of an app. You put it in a backpack, and then it sort of is put on your child's favorite stuffed animal, right? So we're not going to go hardware right away. We're going to try to sort of entry-level app. And then when that is done, what it'll do is ideally the bilingual brain, as these young people learn language the way they're supposed to, then all of a sudden, then their future-ready skills are already more honed. And we are creating innovators by having them learn a second language in childhood when it's supposed to be learned naturally, the way it's supposed to be learned. So there it is. I hope to have a working prototype, looking for beta testers before December or January. And so I'm sort of working within those timelines. So very exciting stuff. And I couldn't have done it without massive support, encouragement, inspiration from all of you beautiful people. And it's just exciting stuff. And I love just listening. Like, it's so inspiring. How can you not want to do amazing things when you hear about all your projects? So thanks for sharing tonight. That was great.
Oh, thanks, Derek. Snaps all around for Derek. Oh man, everyone is super inspired, and I think you may have coined, it's not 20% anymore, it's now the 10% rule. So I think we all have a new ethos to go after, to go knocking on LinkedIn doors. Thanks, Derek. If you guys have questions for Derek, I'm sure all of us want to sign up to be beta testers, so we'll be right in line. Tyler, we got you in. Let's have you share Get Real EDU.
All right, sorry I think people thought we were done, but I'll keep this going a little bit longer. Yeah,
no,
Get Real.
Really say bye yet, so it's okay.
All right. So my idea with Get Real projects was to connect students to real life experts, and just so they could collaborate on schoolwork, which I realized took a lot of buy-in from the teachers. So I kind of piloted it myself with a few different classes this year and focused on just getting some kind of a database of experts. So if you went to the experts page, you'd see many of you participated in this, and thanks to you. And had some of my students reach out and just ask for some coaching or some feedback on some projects. And yeah, for a pilot, I thought it was pretty successful. Some of the projects were kind of unreal. If you look at the showcase there, you can see Todd's name mentioned there, and Kat, they just help some students. I don't know, just blow my mind anyways. If you're on the showcase there, can you just go up to yeah, right there, that Facebook project? That student has a lot of social anxiety and like won't talk to her classmates at all, will only talk to me because I've known her for a long time. But I got to see kind of her email thread between her and Kat, and it was just crazy how much collaborating was happening. And yeah, thanks to Kat for kind of fostering that. So I think it was a pretty good first pilot, but now I have to decide where to go with this, if I want to kind of target students and get them using this more on their own, or get some more teachers involved and just creating opportunities. So it was a lot of fun.
Oh, Tyler, this is awesome. Snaps for Tyler. Wow, this is a really beautiful showcase in particular. It really shows up nicely and so easy to understand what's going on. So if you guys have any thoughts on the direction Tyler should take next, or any questions, drop them in. Kat's tearing up. We're all tearing up. Is there anyone else that didn't get their name on the form that's on the call? I think we had everybody. Adnan, did we get you?
No, I'm just here to support, but I've got some news, but I'll share it as it develops. I mean, there's a lot going on, and it's exciting, and it's fun. But yeah, I'll share some news in a bit.
All right, I like it. You're doing the slow release. Thanks, Adnan. We can't wait. Great. Well, I've got all these links here, guys. Thank you so much for sticking around late to hear about this and to support each other's projects. If you haven't yet, make sure you drop it into the activity app so that we can help spread the word. And with that, we'll say goodbye with a little bit of our actual final graduation. So thank you all for coming. Thanks for a really great year. And we can't wait to see what you keep innovating. Thanks, everybody.
So we talked all night about the rest of our lives, where we're gonna be when we turn 25. Keep thinking times will never change. Keep on thinking things will always be the same. When we leave this year, we won't be coming back. No more hanging out, cause we're on a different track. And if you got something that you need to say, you better say it right now, cause you don't have another day. Cause we're moving on and we can't slow down. These memories are playing like a film without sound. And I keep thinking of the night in June. I didn't know much of love, but it came too soon. And it was me and you, and then we got real blue. Stay at home talking on the telephone, and we would get so excited and we get so scared, laughing at ourselves, thinking life's not fair. And this is how
everybody.
As we go on, we remember all the times we had together. And as our lives change from whatever, we will still be friends forever.
Aw, thanks, everybody. Bye.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, guys. You're amazing. Keep up the great work.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody. Awesome connecting again.
Bye.
Let's
Good
not
night,
wait a
guys.
full year before we connect again.
Yeah, exactly. Reunion.
Bye, everybody.
We're
What a
going to
blast.
Haiti, y'all. We're going to Haiti with Kayla.
All right, well, I'll go with Kayla to Haiti.
Yes, yes, bring it on.
Haiti, ISTE 19 in Philly. Let's get it done.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Good night.
Bye, everybody.
Miss you all. Ah, I love that photo. Great story.
Bye.